is Going Om, the radio program of OMTimes Media, bringing you new thought from the edge of Om. OMTimes is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. Each week, the OMTimes team will bring you luminaries, spiritual teachers, thought leaders, and other movers and shakers in the conscious community, as well as featuring highlights from the weekly edition of OMTimes magazine, so that you can stay informed about what is going on.
By the delicious synchronicity, or was it divine orchestration, that has us kicking off the inaugural edition of OMTimes magazine's new weekly radio show with a discussion that encompasses many of the same elements, such as music, sound, vibration, life, and truth, associated with the most sacred, powerful, and most often chanted sound, Om, the sound of the universe, whose vibration is itself a powerful tool for healing and meditation. My guest is Barry Goldstein, composer, producer, musician, and author of The Secret Language of the Heart, How to Use Music, Sound, and Vibration as Tools for Healing and Personal Transformation. A Billboard Top 10 recording artist, Barry Goldstein's work spans many styles and genres, from co-producing the Grammy award-winning track 69 Freedom Special with Les Paul, to providing original ambient music for Shirley MacLaine, Neil Donald Walsh, Greg Braden, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Dr. Daniel Amen, to name just a few. Barry's healing series, Ambiology, which incorporates 25 years of research into the vibrational effects of music, frequency, resonance, entrainment, and harmonics, is not only being used in hospitals, hospices, medical offices, and individuals' homes worldwide, but also is the subject of serious scientific research. Barry Goldstein, welcome.
Hi, Sandy. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Barry. It's good to have you on the show, the first.
I'm delighted to be here and breaking new ground with you here.
And isn't it a divine synchronicity that we should be talking about the secret language of the universe?
Absolutely. I've been very excited to have this interview with you because we always have such great conversation. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Now, you start your book by saying that music is a language that has spoken to you your entire life. From the time you picked up the guitar and learned 3 chords, you've been passionate about writing songs. So, at what point did you start realizing that music was more than just art and entertainment, and start looking at it as something that has the power to enhance and improve our health and our quality of life?
You know, I think that I was playing with the idea of music as a transformational tool from, early in my teen years. I think that some of what I discuss in the book about utilizing playlists and to shift into different emotions really started in the park where I grew up, in the Bronx in New York City, when all of us used to actually have what we called our mixed tapes. Do you remember tapes, Sandy?
I do remember tapes. I remember vinyl as well.
Right. So each one of us had a half an hour to create our own mixed tapes. And it encompassed such an amazing amount of diversity because the neighborhood that I grew up in had so many different cultures that, you'd listen to a half an hour of Tito Puente and Celia Cruz, and then you'd hear a half an hour of Elvis Costello and Bruce Springsteen, and then you'd hear Grateful Dead, and we heard, I was around at the beginning of hip-hop music as well. So what I realized back then was that each half hour of those mixtapes had the ability to shift into different emotions and into different states of mind and connect us each in our own way. And back then, we didn't have a lot of tools, for self-help or personal transformation. So a lot of what was going on in our families, and challenging circumstances, a lot of those tools happened in the park with us listening to music. And then later in my career, when I became a professional record producer, it became, for me, a living, and it became, it became kind of stagnant, just like every other 9-to-5 job can become stagnant. Music reached a point for me where it didn't bring me as much as joy as it did initially in those days when we listened to music in the park and when I was composing music on the edge of my bed. And that's really when it started for me. I knew that within those challenges that there was a disconnect from my own heart, from my own passion, from my own purpose. And that's when I started to take these hour-long journeys. And instead of taking 100 hours to compose a 4-minute pop song, I would take a few hours to create an hour-long piece of music. And I didn't think, to be honest with you, that anyone would listen to these pieces, which later became my Ambiology series. And we started receiving testimonials from people of them using these CDs in many different ways, everything from birthing children into the world to hospice care to dental offices to working with anxiety. And that's really when things opened up for me. I knew I was onto something in the process of letting go and letting the music come through me. So a long answer to a question, but it spans really over a 25-year period of feeding that intention all the way to the point where I'm at now, where there's a book that I'm sharing a lot of what I've learned.
It's interesting, isn't it? If we look back over our lives, we see all the clues of our life's purpose. We just don't think it's our life purpose.
Right. Like, who would have thought, in those days in the park, that I would be writing a book about the healing aspects of music, or, I just recently presented at an oncology conference called Best Answer for Cancer, where I was a speaker on how music's being used in oncology. So I would have been the guy who would have made fun of me if I would have told myself that 20 years from then or 30 years from then that I would be lecturing at medical conferences about music.
Now,
so very interesting.
This is the interesting thing about your book, because it's not just another book about sound healing or about the chakras. And while both are covered, it actually goes much deeper, bridging science and spirituality, delving into the deep science of how frequency, harmonics, entrainment, and music affect our emotions and our brain.
Yes, well, absolutely. I believe that music bridges science and spirituality very effortlessly. It's always been associated from the time of Pythagoras with science and mathematics and harmonics, all of the above. But we really haven't grasped that full concept of how powerful music can be. And I think that where we are, in our consciousness now and in our world, is that we're trying to speak a different language so more people understand it, and so creating the research behind all of this, right, and looking into how music is beneficial from a scientific perspective opens up more avenues for people to know it's legitimate, as we all know from having our unique musical experience.
You're listening to What Is Going On. I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, and I'm speaking with music producer, composer and researcher Barry Goldstein about how we can use music, sound and vibration for healing and personal transformation. Barry, I want to ask you a question before we go to the break in a couple of minutes about your claim that so many of us are losing connection with our hearts, and the heart plays a huge role in your book. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I think that when all of us are experiencing challenges, whether they're physical challenges or emotional or mental challenges, within all that anxiety that's going on with that, it's so easy for us to move to a place of fear where we forget about our passion and our purpose. And we stop listening to our heart, and we definitely stop speaking to our heart. And in circumstances where we're having these challenges, That's the most important time where we need to tap into the power of our heart, our intuition, and not only on an emotional level, but how our heart can benefit the rest of our physical body, because literally it is the conductor of everything within us as well. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about that, as we move on through the interview. But the basis of it is that music restarts the conversation with our heart in those challenges. And that's what we're looking to achieve, restarting and rekindling that conversation with our hearts.
I tell you what I find interesting, reading your book, it had never occurred to me before how many musical terms, there are in this. I mean, you talk about music, being the conductor of our emotions. We talk about orchestrating, the body's, senses, the body's, cellular functions, etc. Music is everywhere.
Yeah, and that's I was hoping that you were going to bring that up, because that's what I call living a musical life as well. A lot of these terms that apply in music, we can translate them into achieving transformation in our life through applying them. Think about the term harmony. How can you apply harmony in relationships where there's dissonance or challenge? Right? How can you compose yourself in the middle of your day if you're falling out of your center? How can you find your rhythm and resynchronize with your passion and purpose? They're all inbred, in the musical language that translates into us creating personal transformation and healing in our lives.
Like most people, I love music, and I have my own soundtrack that's accompanied many experiences in my life. And I've used music unconsciously to help my emotions and change my emotional state. But I never understood until reading your book how intertwined it is with everything that we do. We're going to go over to a break now, Barry. We'll be back in a few moments, and when we do, Barry's going to share about the body's internal music and show us how to listen to the secret language of our heart. We'll be back in a few moments. Don't go away.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Welcome back to What is Going On. I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, and I'm speaking with Grammy Award-winning producer and composer Barry Goldstein about his new book, The Secret Language of the Heart, which is rapidly climbing the bestseller charts. Barry, you've been researching the health benefits of music, harmonic and entrainment for many years before you met your fiancée, Denise, who just happens to be a doctor who is a passionate researcher herself. with a musical background and very open to natural, holistic alternatives to well-being. How did meeting one another inform each other's work?
Well, yeah, it's funny because when we met, we used the analogy of Reese's peanut butter cups. I don't know if you remember the commercial where it said, "You got your chocolate in my peanut butter." No, you got your peanut butter in my chocolate. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, so we were teasing each other, saying, you got your medicine in my music, and I got my music in her medicine. And, Denise was a big influence for me. I always had the guidance to really get music into mainstream and move it into the medical world where it could be utilized. And she was already researching and a researcher in her own right, and started really turning me on to the different ways music could be used and where to look for the research as well. The reputable sites and finding the good research, which is really important, behind all of this, studies that are done well, so that we can, they have good grounds to land on. So she was an enormous influence in helping me gather the research and information on that level in this book as well.
Now, you say that healing is not just something that happens in our physical body, but rather it includes all four bodies. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest misconception, that when we talk about healing, most people think about the physical body. And, that's the first question by naysayers or people kind of questioning this. Oh, my God, how can music heal? So really, if you look at at health as a four-body system, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, they all influence each other. And, if you have an emotional aspect or a situation in your life that is suddenly transformed, does that affect the physical body? Does it affect the mental body? Of course it does. And music does that so unbelievably easy. It just cuts to the heart, in situations where we're able to forgive more when we hear a song that applies to something, or we're able to release our grief for a loved one that has passed, that we might have been holding some emotional challenges for. And of course, the body moves into a more relaxed state when we release these heavy emotions of fear or guilt or shame or resentment, and it's able to move into a parasympathetic state where our body moves towards a state of regeneration and detoxification. So every time that you're releasing a block of some kind in any one of those four bodies, they affect our ultimate health.
You write about the unique symphony that is our body's internal music. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's why this is that chapter is at the beginning of my book, Sammy, because I think it's really important, and it's a starting ground. Because where we are, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but we're so occupied in our minds, in our mental state, from living our type A personalities to, being on social networks till 12 o'clock at night. And then all of a sudden we have a hard time going to sleep at night. We have insomnia, or we have a lot of mental chatter. And what's going on is we're disconnecting from our hearts and from what I call our internal symphony. So these are the sounds that live within us. The sound of our own heartbeat, the sound of our breath, the sound of when we take that big breath in and go, the sigh. Think about how much tension we release when we sigh outwardly. And when we reconnect with those sounds, it is a message to ourselves from our hearts that we are alive, we are vital, we are breathing in this moment. And it reconnects us to those higher vibrational emotions such as gratitude, kindness, and compassion. And it's been shown through research that those elevated emotions actually improve our heart rate variability, which is our heart's ability to adapt to external stresses. So it's not just a mental, emotional thing when we're reconnecting to these internal sounds. You know, when we're moving to a state of gratitude, we're improving our physical health as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I don't know about America, but in England, you rarely get music in schools anymore, music lessons. And yet, if music is emerging as playing such a pivotal role in our state of mind, you would think it would be the first thing they do to settle the children when they come into school.
Right, and what's very strange to me about it is it's not that just music is calming to kids in schools, but it also has been shown that music can improve mathematical skills when children are listening to music, and improve focus and attention in, you know, ADD and ADHD. Amazing things happen in the learning process through music, and, you know, in children who are on the spectrum of autism as well. You know, with music, it can create more emotional understanding. So taking it out of schools is beyond just a musical level. It's a learning thing as well. And if you add with that as well, that what they've taken out of school in, you know, this country, we used to pledge allegiance to the flag, right, every morning. And we used to place our hands on our hearts, right? When we said, I pledge allegiance to the flag, we put our hand over our heart and connect with our heart on a daily basis, you know, before the school day started. And now that has been taken out of most schools as well. So it's a strong disconnect, and we really have to teach our children, you know, what it is to connect with the heart outside of school.
You're absolutely right. And it almost feels as though we're withdrawing everything that they need to be experiencing rather than giving it to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's why it becomes more of a parent responsibility now. We talk about homeschooling, you know, and I think that music is going to be a big part of that. That's, you know, that we should not overlook the aspect of homeschooling music as well, you know, at least including it in the environment, you know, for children who are being homeschooled, and, you know, teaching children to appreciate music. And that's really what the internal symphony does. When you connect with that inner music, it teaches us to appreciate music from the inside out, the music that we've been given first. And when we can hear on a subtle level the music within our own bodies, we learn to appreciate music in a whole new way. It's really phenomenal. So I would love to share a process, you know, with the audience if we have a minute or two to do that.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the heart song breathing process, which is weaves its way through many chapters in the book, is a way to check in with your heart and begin to create that conversation of listening to your heart again, and also creating coherence within the physical body. So it's a three breath process. The first breath, we bring the breath in through the bottom of our feet and up to our hearts. So this works with our lower half of our physical body, releasing stresses all the way from the feet up through our legs, to our hips, to the base of our spine. And it also works with the lower energy centers, and it connects us to what we call the aspects of the Divine Mother. So knowing that we're safe, we're nurtured, we're taken care of. And then the second breath, we bring that through the top of our heads and all the way down to our hearts. And that connects us and helps us release stresses in our upper body. It connects us with the aspects of the Father, which allows us to surrender control of things and to trust more. And then the third breath, we incorporate breathing in through the heart and out through the heart. And what that does is it integrates those two breaths together. And I usually do this several times in my day when I find myself like I'm moving out of center. If I started my intention early in the morning and it seems to be wandering, or my day is snowballing, you know, into something that doesn't feel expansive, I start to feel like I'm contracted. Then I apply this method of breathing. So let's go through it. And I would suggest people place their feet on the floor. If you're sitting down, your spine straight in a chair is the best way to do it, or standing up, as you can do it as well. And we're just going to breathe that big breath in, placing our hands on our hearts, taking the breath in through the bottom of our feet, all the way up to the heart, and then release it. And just allow yourself to feel your own heartbeat for a moment. Good. And the second breath, bringing the breath in through the top of our head, all the way down to our heart. And release it with an audible sigh. So that sigh is very important in the process. It relieves a lot of the physical stress we hold in our body. And then the third breath, we're going to bring in through the heart and then out through the heart. And then release it. And we're going to do that one more time. Bring the breath in through the bottom of the feet up to the heart. Release it. Bring the breath in through the top of the head, all the way to the heart. And release it. And then a breath in through the heart and a breath out through the heart. And as you hold your hand on your heart, know that no matter what's going on in your life, that you carry your own unique vibration that no one can take away from you, no matter what challenges are going on. You are alive. You're able to hear your breath, your heartbeat. And it's a sign that in this moment, everything is okay. And just bring in one final breath in through the heart and out through the heart. And so this is a process that we can do any time in our day to really come back to our center.
You're listening to What Is Going On. I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, and I'm speaking with Grammy Award-winning producer, composer and researcher Barry Goldstein. After the break, Barry's going to tell us about the 4 ways that music engages the brain and how we can use music as medicine to alleviate specific illnesses. We'll be back in a few moments. Don't go away.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Andy Sedgbeer. And I'm speaking with producer, composer, and author Barry Goldstein. Barry, you say in the book that there are 4 ways that music engages the brain. Tell us about that.
Well, yes. I mean, actually, it engages the brain in many more aspects than that as well. But in the book, I'm covering the basic 4, which are emotions, memory, learning and neuroplasticity, and also attention. So music has a way of, from our earliest time, to engage our emotions, from the beginning of our lives when we come into the world, when we're being sung lullabies by our mothers or our fathers. The music engages us at very early ages emotionally. And we actually see this in the bonding between mother and child, that when the mother is singing to the child, that there's so much love that's going on, that not only the child is experiencing that, but during that time, what's amazing is that the mother, because she's in such a deep state of love, is also producing a hormone called oxytocin, which is actually called the love hormone. So this bonding occurs on a very deep level. And music really works with engaging our bodies to incorporate a host of our body's own pharmaceuticals, which is not pharmaceuticals, but natural hormones that enhance our body systems. So from the time where babies to, from moving through your high school prom or your wedding or all your highlights of your life, music's constantly engaging our emotion and creating what I call musical pinnacles, which are music that's becomes associated to specific memories that we have. That's how powerful it is. That music is this complex system that not only carries, the musical elements, but also emotions, and is able to program and deprogram us, through our lives. And, we see this, how this moves forward in memory, where how powerful music is with engaging memory, when we're looking now at Alzheimer's patients or brain injury patients that are unable to induce certain memories, but music allows them to tap into memories in a way that nothing else can. And I don't know if you've ever seen the video with Henry, the Alzheimer's patient. Is in a movie called Alive Inside, where there's an elderly man who's literally face down and is completely disconnected from the world. And they utilize his preferred music. His family researches what music he loved to listen to. And they begin to introduce these musical playlists into his daily program. And they watch him become reconnected and actually his memory improve through the use of his preferred music. So it's very powerful, and that moves into the next part of it, which is learning and neuroplasticity, where it's the brain's ability to reorganize itself and create new neural connections. So I like to look at it as when the brain is damaged, it could create new pathways, which increases function. And I use the analogy of directions, when you get directions to a location, or if you're going a certain place, there's more than one way to get there. So if you think of memory in an Alzheimer's patient, maybe that road is closed, but there are ways or different alternative routes to get there. And music really helps to actually create that alternate route and re-access memories in a different way beyond the thinking mind. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, please continue. I just had a thought.
Yeah.
I'll share it with you in a moment.
Okay. Yeah, so, and then we have how music engages our brain through attention. And of course, I'm sure that we all have, we have experienced that when we listen to a piece of music, and there's different dynamics in the music when we're going high to low, and all of a sudden there's a drum break in a song and we feel like getting up and dancing, right? Or all of a sudden there's silence in a musical piece and we're waiting for the next thing to happen. Well, the research that was done around that, and this was done with a piece of music that was short symphonies of an obscure 18th century composer, and they were actually doing MRI studies of people's brains while they were doing this, and they showed that the peak brain activity actually occurred during the part of the song where there was silence. So we're waiting for that next piece, and all our attention is focused on when that is going to come in. So music engages all of those. It engages emotion, memory, neuroplasticity, and attention in very powerful ways.
I'm intrigued to know if music is so powerful, if it has such an incredible effect on us, on every single body. What happens when we sing? And what happens when somebody with a beautiful voice sings? What's happening in their body? Because it's going to be, let's say, more harmonically attuned than, say, if I was singing to myself. Is there a difference? I mean, if you sing badly, are you doing your body harm?
They've actually done studies that show that even if you're singing badly, it's beneficial. Maybe not to others, right? But it could be beneficial to yourself. And that, not only is it beneficial in emotional aspects, because of course you're voicing yourself, right? And on an emotional level, it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. But you also, when you're actively engaged in music, it's more beneficial to your immune system, okay, than when you're passively engaged. And that was a study that was done based on chanting. And there's a few very, very, very cool studies that were done with chanting. One of them that was done was geared towards the Om as well. And we can talk about that a little bit later, how that engages the brain and really proved what we know for thousands of years about the benefits of Om, but now it has scientific legs. So singing is beneficial, whether it's bad singing or good singing. You should be singing every day.
Wow, there's a good message for all those parents who tell their kids to shut up the minute they start singing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing. I was recently engaged in an activity that incorporated many people to move through the process of creating a song together. And I'm also brought into events to create songs on a corporate level, because what it does is it builds team building when you're doing that. The process of creating and singing together unifies us. And what I found was there were so many people who were told that, exactly what you just said, Sandy, don't sing, right, when they were at a young age. And literally, it was so powerful that they never began to sing again until we worked on these exercises of creating a song together, and it was very empowering for them to move past what that had been a belief system for a very long time, that they shouldn't be singing.
Well, they wouldn't let me in the choir at school. They told me I could do the reading instead, and that sent a very powerful message to me about my voice.
Absolutely. Well, you can sing in my choir.
Okay. I'll sing in my car when there's nobody with me. Tell me about some of the amazing research that's been conducted that proves that music has the power to actually alleviate illnesses, reverse negative mindsets and attitudes, even dissolve creative blocks.
Yeah, well, why don't we talk a little bit about that Om study, because of course your show has the Om in it.
Yes.
Right? And also because I think that, from a spiritual point of view, that we all know the healing properties of oming. If you've ever sat in a group with a bunch of people and you've actually owned or chanted with somebody, that what it does is it takes you out of your mental right? It helps you relieve mind chatter, takes you out of chronic stories that are going on in the head, and it taps you into, your own vibration, right? Your own heart, right? It allows you to reconnect with your internal music. And there was a study that was done, and it wasn't just an emotional study. It was what's called an objective study. So it actually how it affects the physical body. And it was done with fMRI. And what they found out that they had two groups. One was chanting Om, and the other group, which was was a group that was chanting S. So they would be chanting like S or S, and the other group was chanting Om. And what they found in this MRI study was that chanting Om created limbic deactivation. And so to translate that for people who don't know what limbic deactivation is, it's the part of our limbic system is the part that's associated with inner peace. So when that system is deactivated, we are in a very, very peaceful state. And when we're in a peaceful state, where we move to a parasympathetic state, where that's affecting our physical body. We're relaxed, we're breathing slower, we're giving our chance a body to regenerate, to detoxify. Our immune system is being more strongly enhanced through that as well. So that was what happened when they chanted Om. When they chanted S, the fMRI studies showed absolutely no limbic deactivation at all. So this is like a breakthrough because it's showing that Om has a powerful effect on our brain. And then when our brain has that powerful limbic deactivation, what's going on in our physical body from that as well. And, Om, as you know, has every sound in the universe, but, it also weaves through many, many different languages and what's called seed syllables that we hear. So I always tell people that if you want to incorporate something powerful into your life, incorporate the Om for 5 minutes during your day and see how much you're going to create transformation just from that, moving out of the aspect of your thinking mind.
You're listening to What Is Going On. I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, and I'm speaking with producer, composer, and author Barry Goldstein. After the break, Barry will explain how we can create our own musical and medical prescription for physical and emotional health and well.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
You're listening to OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
I'm speaking with producer, composer, and author of the book, The Secret Language of the Heart, Barry Goldstein. Barry, one of the things I love about your book, I do love practical books, books that can give people real solid tools to use in their life. And one of the things I love about your book is you have this whole section in the back of the book about various ways that we can use music for various ailments. Even with, you talked about Alzheimer's earlier. You actually give different pieces of music as recommendations that people can use. Depression, autism, all kinds of subjects. And I think that is a real gift to the world. And you tell us how we can create our own playlist. I mean, what is the protocol for this? I mean, how do I know what sort of playlist I need to create for various effects that I might want to, elicit in my life?
Yes. So that's, the beginning of that is really why we did a heart song breathing process too, is because, yes, I definitely want to make recommendations to people, but I also want people to be able to, check in with themselves when they listen to a piece of music to see if it resonates with them. So that same process that we were doing at the beginning where you're checking in with your heart, you should always be asking yourself, place your hands on your heart and say, does this music feel good to me? How does it make my body feel? How does it make me feel emotionally? And then, the criteria for creating your own playlist is really asking yourself where you are in the moment, right? What emotion are you experiencing? You might be sad, and you might want to you want to transcend that sadness into more happiness. So you ask yourself where you're at, and then you ask yourself where you want to go emotionally, and you choose a piece of music that's going to bridge the two. So a great start with that is, again, what I call your musical pinnacle or your happy song. So before I started this interview with you, I said, let me listen to my happy song, which is The Love You Saved by the Jackson 5. So I know when I listen to that song, no matter what's going on in my day, it reconnects me with very up and joyous feelings. So a great thing to do, even before you start your playlist, is find your musical pinnacle. Find the one song that makes you happy. And then as you expand upon that, you can create playlists, not just for like a day at the beach or your reggae playlist, but I suggest doing playlists for elevated emotions, like gratitude, for example. I have a gratitude playlist where I have in it Sly and the Family Stone, I want to thank you for letting me be myself, right? And in the same playlist, I'll have Karen Drucker's song, Thank You for This Day's Spirit. So it doesn't have to be necessarily New Age genre. It could be anything that really taps you into the emotion of that specific playlist. And so you become to build your own program. And what I always suggest for people as a beginning part of that program, the most important times of your day to utilize music in a program are the beginning of your day when you wake up, right? So start your day with a song that's going to be in alignment with your intention. If you have a management meeting or you're playing a leadership role, you're going to want to play a song that motivates you and inspires you. A song for the middle of your day to either relax you if you're feeling a lot of anxiety, or to ignite you, right? To reignite you or rejuvenate you in your middle of your day. So you might want to listen to a calming piece of music, or maybe you want to get up and move to some drumming music. And then at the end of your day, to wind down with music, I always recommend listening to a piece of music that's at about 60 beats per minute, which is how I compose a lot of my music. This works with entraining your heart. So the internal clock or metronome that beats in your heart, it actually synchronizes with the music, and it brings you to a more relaxed state so you can bridge into sleep much more easily. And so that's really, Sandy, is the missing piece. I think what makes this book special is that we all know that music can be powerful, just like we know meditation can be powerful, or that we know certain foods are good for us. it's not until we bring the awareness to creating a daily program that we really reap the benefits of our health being improved. And you will find that, incorporating a program like this will definitely create personal transformation for you as you utilize it and engage it on a frequent basis.
I can understand how music can change a mood, can change an atmosphere. I don't understand how music can dissolve creative blocks. Tell me about that one.
Well, sure. A lot of times, when we're in a creative block, this is my experience with it. When we're in a creative block, we're usually disconnected. In other words, we're in our mind, we're going over something, we're editing it over and over, trying to make it right. That, for me, is not the ultimate state of creation. The ultimate state of creation is connecting with something beyond ourselves, whether you call it God, spirit, the universe, some people call it nature. But when I am in a creative space, I connect with something beyond myself. And so a lot of us, when we're in those stressful states, when we're experiencing a creative block, we don't always have the ability to bridge that right away. And that's where music comes in, because I'm sure you put on a piece of music and all of a sudden you feel that connection to something beyond yourself spiritually. And when you connect with the all or the creator, there is nothing more creative than that source. And you tap into that creative power. And you move past your mental mind. You move back into alignment with your heart. And choosing, a piece of music that moves you is going to move that creative block as well.
One of the things you go at great lengths to stress is the personal. It's got to be music that resonates with you. And then, many people think that if a piece of music is labeled, meditation and it's soft and it's soothing, everybody is going to relax to it. But you say that's not so.
Yeah, I think what we tend to do is we tend to oversimplify music. So if it's labeled meditation, then you're going to be able to meditate to it, right? But really, music is such a complex delivery system because it contains not just the harmonics, the frequencies, but it also contains the intention of the composer and the emotion of the composer. So you might be picking up on some very subtle things that make you resonate with a song or not resonate with a song. And that's why we can listen to the same composition by Mozart, right, by 15 different people playing it, to have the same effect listening to all 15 of them.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, some songs I hate, and then I hear them by somebody else, and I go, oh, I actually like that.
Right, that's my exact point. So it's not just the music. It's the emotion, it's the intention. It's all, you're picking up on that when you listen to a piece of music, you're listening to a full vibrational field. So when I compose a piece of music, I start with an intention, and I would make sure that my emotion is aligned with that before my fingers touch the keyboard, because I know people are going to be feeling that. And if I'm in that space of love or compassion when I'm creating that piece, or if I'm doing a motivational or inspirational piece where I'm excited and passionate, and it translates to me first as a composer, I know that it's going to resonate with some people on that level as well.
I once read that if you listen to a piece of music and it makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, then what's going on is that music is your note, your frequency, something that is very personal to you. And I experienced this listening to Frances Raphael, an English singer who was in the original Les Mis in London. There was a quality to her voice, not necessarily the best voice, but a quality that literally made me stop and every hair stand on end. What is happening there?
Well, I think you know what's happening. It's hitting you on a very, very powerful level, not just on a art and entertainment level. That's moving to the core of your soul when you feel that. And people very often, they'll say, oh, I got God bumps or I got goosebumps when I heard that song. It's the same thing. And that's a perfect example of your heart speaking back to you. That is the secret language of the heart, and that's how music speaks to us. So when we are listening to that and saying, oh my God, that was powerful, right? What happens then when you put an intention, wow, I think I'm going to listen to that piece of music a few times during my week. That's when the awareness comes in, where you become to have that conversation with your heart utilizing music.
Now, although you do stress the personal, very much so, you did create two pieces, two CDs that accompany but are not part of the book that people can choose to purchase. Why did you create two different CDs?
Well, I say the biggest challenge in writing a book about music is there's no music in it.
Yes.
Right? So, I wanted to make the book sing, but also I wanted to give people some tools to tap into. So there's one CD that actually works with balancing the energy centers. It's a 3-part program for morning, evening, and your daytime to tap into. And then there's another one called the Ultimate Playlist that allows people to pick a song for their specific emotion they want to tap into, from gratitude to inner peace to motivation. And a lot of people, this is a great starting point, having those two CDs, to developing their own program with those, starting off as they develop their own.
That's all we have time for, I'm afraid, Barry. I want to thank you. I love the book. And I hear that even though it's only been out a few days, it's already zooming up the charts. So good luck with that. And thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Sandy. And I just want to let people know there's many, many studies on different elements within the book, too many to talk about today. So please give the book a try, and I hope that it helps and heals many. Thank you, Sandy, for having me.
Thank you. Secret Language of the Heart. You can find out more about Barry, his music, and his work by visiting barrygoldsteinmusic.com. That's all for today. I'm Sandy Sedgbeer. Thanks for being with me, and I look forward to being with you at the same time next week. Till then, it's goodbye from me.